Hello and welcome to another episode of Monday Madness, the show where we say f you to the meta book and we try to crush our opponents with meme strats. This week the challenge was to only use archers as siege warfare. Let's see how we did. In the first game, we're looking at yours truly, joining forces with Magnolia and Gunner Gates. I was crashing Magnolia's streams yesterday as she and Gunner was doing some Tati rush shenanigans, and I thought what a better time to hit two birds with the same stone and get some double meme content. If you want to check out the VOD or Magnolia stream in general, the link to her channel will be in the description. Now for this game I was going for Saracens, mainly with the attack bonus versus buildings in mind, but also for the sweet market abuse should the game drag out. Gunner was playing as the Portuguese for the cheaper archers, but also the Dark Age Carter, which does help out a lot when doing these meme strats early on. It was a while since I did the Tati Rush video, which if you missed it is also in the description of this video if you don't know what a Tati Rush is. So my build is a bit rusty here. I completely forgot to make the mining camp, so my feudal time is a bit delayed. Gunnar has tried this strategy out a few times, but Magnolia is trying this out for the first time and is completely new to it. Even so, we all managed to get up to feudal age with a fairly decent time. The enemy pocket was definitely not expecting early aggression, so my archers find a lot of success. Gunnar is not as fortunate, who gets his second archer range denied by some men-at-arms. But Magnolia finds some success by harassing her opponent's wood line in spite of him being completely walled. I'm having a great time killing Yellow's villagers, so great in fact that I feel that I can spare a few archers and send them to help out Gunner, and they find a few villager picks as well. Yellow now feels obligated to drop a tower, but with the Saracen bonus I make short work of it and he drops down to just 10 villagers. Red comes to save his pocket, who manages to go up to Castle Age. Gunner on his flank now has got a few archers out and he can easily deal with enemy skirmishers, and he's also doing a lot of damage. Magnolia on the other hand is not as fortunate as us. The walls have prevented her from getting in and doing much damage, and Red now has a large mass of archers to defend. We've been able to find a lot of villager kills, but with two enemy players now in Castle Age, we haven't won the game just yet. I find one of Yellow's stables and I snipe it down with my Saracen archers. Gee, I hope he wasn't planning to making knights or something. Red is now also up to Castle Age, and if I haven't Saracen abused myself up to the Castle Age, I will be quite worried at this stage. Yellow hasn't been able to make any knights, and when I find his few remaining villagers, he's had enough. A large force of enemy crossbows comes in on Magnolia's base, but since I'm now down with Yellow, I can attack Red in his own base and he's forced to withdraw his army. Being a teammate down, losing villagers all over the place and being completely unable to take resources, the enemy team resigns. Alright, so in the second game we're trying our luck with the same strategy but against different opponents. Once again the enemy pocket is completely caught off guard and I find a lot of villager picks with my archers. Magnolia's opponent is much faster to fuel and has some scouts to defend and a counterattack, so her archers get very delayed. Gunner's opponent is completely walled, but he's faster and he manages to break in and find some villager picks himself. I'm finding a lot of villager kills, as does Magnolia despite her unlucky start, but eventually Gunner's opponent manages to defend well with skirmishers. At this point, Blue and Teal are both up to Castle Age, and I probably should have helped out my allies a bit earlier instead of beating up on Green, who has already lost 27 villagers. I get up to Castle Age myself and I get all the technologies for my crossbows, but Teal manages to get in on my extremely fragile economy of only 19 villagers. But in return we manage to do a great deal of damage on Teal. But Gunner on his flank is struggling to defend against skirms and mangonels with only archers. Magnolia sends some archers to help him out, and she manages to deny a castle, but eventually they also go down to the enemy skirms. I'm staying around in Teal's base to snipe down his town centers, but Blue moves onto my base and drops a castle on my town center, and I'm now down to just 2 low HP villagers who'll have to migrate. Blue then continues his onslaught and destroys Magnolia's base as well, who also has to migrate. It doesn't look great for us here, but I know that I did good damage on both Teal and Green, so I still have some hope. Gunnar also managed to sneak out with his villagers, and he's slinging me vital resources so I can keep producing my crossbows. I find and destroy yet another town center, and I finally decide to move on to Blue. But Blue is matching my numbers with elite skirmishers with +2, and there is no way I can win that fight. Eventually the enemy also finds Magnolia's new town center, but we do manage to defend it so she can even reach the castle age. I group up with my crossbows and I find a big part of the enemy economy. I almost manage to snipe yet another town center and deny a castle, but I am eventually run down by a mass of knights from Teal, who's apparently not as dead as I first thought. Once I lose my massive crossbowman, we also lose our main remaining winning condition. And once reviewing the game, it doesn't look at all as close as it felt. I thought I did a great deal of damage sniping a lot of town centers and villagers from both Teal and Green, but they seem to have a lot more just hiding outside in the fog of war. In game number 3, we have one of my most loyal meme kings, Lael, trying out his luck with the Mayans. The Mayans of course having access to the obsidian arrows tech, which gives their foot archers extra attack versus buildings. The game is being played on Hideout, so Lael can comfortably fast castle and get his desired technology. With help of this and of his castle, he can take down buildings very quickly. Red is trying to counter this play from Lael by making knights and rams, which isn't at all a bad idea. But he chooses to attack before he has +2 or bloodlines, so the castle stays up. Red then changes his approach to mangonel defense, and this is going to be a bit harder for Lael to deal with, since he's not allowed to make siege of his own. So instead, Lael does what Lael does best and destroys the houses of the enemy. Red is now extremely pop-capped and he can't produce more mangonels. And he decides that this is the perfect opportunity to go to Imperial Age, which I can't make much sense of. He then, in an act of desperation, chases down Lael's crossbows with his mangonels, but this fails horribly. Now having lost his last military unit, he has no way of defending his town, so he resigns after reaching Imperial Age. Thank you very much for your exemplary contribution, Lael. The last game of the day is sent in to us by the dynamic meme duo Brix and Lael. The game is being played on Arabia, with Brix as the Mayans and Lael as the Saracens. Their game plan is to have the Mayan player go for obsidian arrows and a lot of archers, whilst being slung by their Saracen ally. This strategy was used by MBL and the Viper to ruffle stomp their opposition in the latest Nations Cup. If Lael plays the role of the slinging MBL, Brix plays the aggressor's role of the Viper. But unlike the Viper, Brix does not possess godlike micro. The feudal age and early castle age is being dominated by the enemy team, and Brix loses his army numerous times as well as a lot of villagers. Fortunately, Lael manages in a miraculous effort to keep himself alive and can continue to sling. Brix manages to drive the enemy back and start attacking Orange, but again he loses a big chunk of his army to a really bad fight. But what Brix lacks in micro, he makes up for in macro, and with the additional resources from Lael, he quickly replenishes his army and reaches the Imperial Age. Now with a huge tech advantage, Brix can start to push, and he does so perfectly in time to stop a castle going up from the Goth player. Had he gotten into Hostguards, he could have really thrown a spanner in the works, even for the Arbalesters. The knights from the red player can only watch on as 60 or so Arbalesters from Brix burn the village of their ally to the ground. It's not long before Orange's whole base is wiped off the face of the map and he is forced to run. Red manages to reach Imperial Age himself, just as Brix is on his doorstep. He tries to attack into Cavalier, but his stables get sniped instantly by Brix's Arbalesters, delaying it several minutes. At the back of Red's base, Orange is getting ready to produce Huskars. If they can just hold on a little bit longer, they can get to +4 Cavalier and Huskars, which should be a very decent counter to Brix's Arbalesters. But of course, Brix isn't gonna let that happen. Brix charges straight through the red player base and he's sniping Townsenders left and right, and even the castle is crumbling like a house of cards. A huge fight against the Huskars and the +4 Cavalier takes place, and even though Brix loses his entire army, he has another army of 100 Arbalesters waiting just around the corner. Red player on the other hand just lost his last villager and he's about to lose his last town center. There isn't much point for the enemy to try to resist any longer, so they resign. Thank you very much for this true masterpiece of a game, Brix and Lale. I'm sure before long people will recognize your names and they will just resign at the very sight of them. I want to thank you for watching this week's episode of Monday Madness. If you haven't already, feel free to give this video a like and remember to subscribe not to miss out on future videos. In the description of this video, you will find the links to my social media where I will be posting when the next video is uploaded. Should you like to take part in the next video, you can also join my Discord where I will be posting the next week's strategy. Bye for now and have a nice week.